Welcome to the next chapter of As the Story Grows. I'm Brian Patton. Today, I'm excited to share my chat with Jonah Matranga. Between Far and Onelinedrawing, I've been a fan of Jonah's work for a long time, and it was an absolute delight to have Jonah on the podcast. Onelinedrawing's new record, Tenderwild, is out today on Iodine Records. I was so enamored with Tenderwild when I spoke with Jonah that the conversation revolves around Tenderwild and its themes. Jonah talks about connection through song and capturing the human experience, cancel culture, and covering Pony. I'm so grateful that I got to have Jonah on the podcast. I hope everyone gives Tenderwild a real listen and finds something to connect with. And I hope you enjoy my chat with Jonah Matranga.
Tenderwild love, I've been looking for you so long. Oh, running everywhere. A lot of come and go, a lot of too soft, too strong. Oh, I know we're both scared, but if you take a chance, I swear I will fight for you with all my might.
What up, what up?
Hey, Jonah, how's it going?
Pretty good, man. You?
Doing good, man. How you feeling?
You know, one moment at a time through this fucking maze.
Yeah.
How about you, man? How you holding up?
I'm good. I got no complaints. Things been fine. Yeah.
Good, man. Good.
Yeah. Good to meet you. I feel like you popped up in my Facebook as you should be friends with people, and your name has popped up a bunch of times. And
Yeah, you stick around long enough, you end up being connected to everybody, don't you?
right. Yeah. It's always wild.
We can definitely be friends on Facebook. It's really, I think that's what those things are for.
Right. I try to stay off of social media as much as possible now because
yeah, same here.
That shit is toxic. I got on Twitter the other day and all of a sudden I was ranting and I was like, why am I doing this? Now I'm just mad.
It's because that shit programs us to do it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
sure does.
If they're as smart as I think they are for all that money, they are definitely rigging it to get our little fight or flight going. Make us good consumers and good combatants.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Well, I'm stoked to talk to you. This new record, it fucked me up. In maybe a good way, but I was listening to it and from Get a Dog all the way through, whether it's been just everything for 2 to 8 years or however long.
Yeah.
I mean, longer than that, but
No, I know. No, I know what you're saying though.
COVID politics, me getting sober, just fighting in my marriage, for the, to keep my marriage going, all these things,
Yeah.
The loss of my dad, the songs on this record just hit me. And I was just that thing I do where I am playing video games and I put on a record to listen to it. And I was oh, I'm going to stop playing video games now and listen to this record and just cry.
Yeah.
So it was very therapeutic. That's why I love music is you can connect with it.
Yeah.
And just so much. So it's phenomenal in that way.
I'm really, really happy to hear that. It definitely, I went through a lot writing and making the record for sure. As you say, the last several years in our immediate cultural environment has been a fucking wild ride.
Yeah.
And music is the way I make it through that. And honestly, the thing you said, I'm very happy to have the album. And I think it is a wonderful, it's in the sweetest way. It's a wonderful background album. It's a really sweet sounding record. It's, Jeremy did an incredibly beautiful job mixing and recording it. I adore it on a very superficial level. I'm very proud of it. And all of the music that I really love with my whole heart and the music that what I'm trying to do when I make music is stuff that, sure, it can be good and just in the environment and that's fine. But if I want to turn everything else off, I want there to be something in the songs I'm listening to. And those are the songs I tend to fall in love with. And that's what I'm trying to write. So just that little anecdote you just said about like you were playing video games and doing your thing, and it was like, yeah, now I'm gonna shut this off and feel this shit, and then there's something to feel there. So I'm so happy that you feel it. I've been thinking a lot lately about how much music has gotten me through, and how much all I've ever really wanted to do is give someone else a little bit of support through whatever's going on. And for me, that's not only feeling the sad shit and the difficult shit, you know, whatever that means, but also feeling the joyous, the stuff that's so happy and sweet that it's kind of hard to feel sometimes. And I think that's in some ways why we might go back into less pleasant feelings, because the big sweet feelings, I know for me, my biggest fear is right when things are going great, that's when the rug pull comes. And I think that, you know, a lot of people share that for different reasons. And so anyway, I just really appreciate you saying that thing, because that is the thing I want to hear about my music in people's lives. So thank you.
Yeah. Is that something that has changed as you've gotten older, like the way you approach songwriting, like more personal and connection, or frustrated, like from the beginnings of Far to now? Like, do you feel like you've shifted with age?
It sounds strange, but I was just talking to someone else the other day about like the very, very, very first songs I wrote in high school. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, I would like to think that my craft and my, you know, and just my humanity, my everything has gotten, you know, has grown, I've matured, I like to change. I like to keep it fresh and do a thing. And I think I've been writing about the same fucking thing from the same fucking place since I was 14. The first song I can remember writing was called, that really like stuck with me, was called Communication. And another one that I really remember from back in the day was called Get It Off Your Back. And so I think even from then, I was really trying to write about this stuff. And I would say I went through a pretty typical thing where, you know, let's call it the U2 era of music. And I adore U2. I really grew up on them. They're in my DNA. So, but also they, for better or for worse, I think, you know, and I would say maybe Dylan is the very first one of this, of just sort of people that made a young songwriter believe that I could write about, you know, racism and fucking, you know, like just like write about the ills of the world and make a change. And I love that. And I've always had a thing of like, if I'm going to try writing about something really intense, sociopolitically, the more heavy it is, the better the tune has to be. Like, I really don't like when someone writes a song about AIDS and they're like, it's good because it's about AIDS. It's like, well, no, it's actually a terrible song about a terrible thing. And so nothing really happened. So I really try to do good things, and I'm not afraid of that stuff. Yeah. And as I've grown up, more and more, it's almost like I keep coming back to the personal part. I keep remembering that the best thing I could possibly do is tell my story. Yeah. And if my story happens to involve my thoughts on systemic racism or male supremacy or homophobia or what, you know, whatever the things are, the hot button issues are, then cool, like good, because everyone should talk about these things. We should figure this shit out because it's terrible. And it's been part of why our last several years as a country has been so horrific and as a world. But it does, I really do believe that it starts and ends with the personal. And so I would say perhaps this record was a refocusing on that, precisely because there was so much just insanity sociopolitically surrounding me. It was I did a lot of fighting on the internet. And I then realized I was kind of being programmed and led on and kind of used. And it's not that what I was saying wasn't worthwhile or just or whatever, but it was really preying on my worst impulses of judgment and control and condescension and just anger and just hatred of humanity and all the things. And at some point I just really kind of, I almost really am thankful for the last several years, and especially COVID, for just reminding me all I really get to do is take care of myself. Mm-hmm. That's it. Like, it's all I'm in control of. And whatever that leads to, beautiful. And so I think this record was me being entirely overwhelmed. I mean, as you say, it was starting with Get a Dog. So I was falling in love. So the album is sort of about this tumble into kind of bliss, and then these kind of chaotic, intense thoughts that kind of came up in the middle of the record, gets into some pretty dense territory around trying to figure out who I am in the world. And then it comes out the other side with a real sweetness about frailty, and just that I'm just this like little creature running around on the world. And maybe I would think a deeper appreciation of the subtleties and intricacies of love, whether that's a romantic love or a self-love or a agape global love. So yeah, it's long answer to your question, but it really, I think music has always been an intensely pure personal therapeutic thing for me, and I've tried to do different things with it over the years. But if anything, this album is a return to the knowledge that all I get to do is tell my story. And the more personally and the more bravely I tell my story, here's the neat part, I think the more universal it becomes. So this is maybe my most personal record ever in a lot of ways. Yeah. And I also think perhaps my most universal. And that's not like a good or a bad thing. Like, I'm so awesome, but just in terms of how I see it. So yeah.
Yeah. It's really a cool record where, like, Get a Dog and Tenderwild, like, I'm like, oh, these are like beautiful love songs that I want to put on a mixtape for my wife.
Yes.
And then we get to like, Don't Give Up. And it's like that. What's the line in there? I think it's that song. It's like, some people are missing their kid, some people are missing their dad, and like
somebody's sick and somebody's sad, and they're missing their kids, or they're missing their dad, and someone's getting beat up just for being who they've been since they were born. So don't give up. That line, because I lost my dad in 2019, it was like, it just struck me, and I just like bawling. And then like, I'm just like, I want to share this song with everybody I know, because like, this is a hug for people. Like, it's just like, everybody listen to this song and just like feel something. It's great, that 1,000,000%. And I lost my dad a long time ago now. And if there's anything, again, COVID has reminded us of, is that time, what is even time? Like it, and so some days it feels like a long time ago, and I feel totally at peace with my dad being gone. And sometimes it feels like I just got the call, it just, and a thing I've tried to live by over the past bunch of years is, rather than, I don't know if you know this feeling, but like that exasperated, like if kind of the world's coming down on me, or someone's coming at me, and I say something like, to the effect of, or think or feel something like, you have no idea what I've been through. And all of a sudden it occurred to me a little while back that if I approach the world and meet every human being that I'm meeting with the inverse of that phrase, I have no idea what you've been through. Then I become a softer person. I become a more tender person, Tenderwild, as it were. And Don't Give Up is definitely me. And that line in particular that you picked out, that's me definitely trying to sink into this, no matter what's going on for me and how difficult it might feel and how unfair it might feel and how someone else is going through shit too. And we're all going through this shit together. That's the whole point of it. And so again, I love that I love that you picked out that part. That's a very important part of that song for me. And in some ways, one of the hearts of the record is that little stretch of that song.
The quiet please, so we can fix this world before it shatters. We gotta figure this out. With you making all that noise, then we won't. 'Cause Somebody's sick and somebody's sad, or they're missing their kid, or they're missing their dad, and someone's getting beat up just for being who they've been since they were born. Just for being who they've been since they were born. So don't give up. Anyone who's out here with me, sing it to each other softly.
You have such a expansive career, but this record is so good that I just, yeah, all of it.
I'm so happy to hear that. After all these years, that's all I want to do is make records that, again, for someone who's fresh to it, great. It's just like a sweet little pop record. And then if you want to dig in and get to know me, I promise there's going to be some shit there. And for the people who've been hanging out forever, I absolutely, like, in some ways, this is a comfort food album. You know, this is really, there's some shit that sounds a little like Far, some shit sounds like New End, a little like Gratitude, a little like my solo, like weird, little quiet, lo-fi, like it's all over the place. And it's a real kind of almost overview. And also, I think it's entirely new and fresh and interesting and kind of like no record I've made. And I hope that's true for the listeners. And I don't go into it, all I'm really trying to do is please myself, like, just to be real. But it's nice when people can, especially people who've been around a minute, can go, "Aw, like my old buddy," you know, and like we're getting on, we're being new people. Yeah.
But the other song I'm going to ask about here is Hell of a Year. Were you worried about either kind of putting this song in a frame of time with the reference to, like,
MAGA,
or which is 100% truthful?
Sure.
Or were you afraid, like, man, I might alienate some fans if I say this? Or you're just like, fuck it, I have to get this off my chest?
Yeah, cool. I love this. Couple things come to mind. One, I think I want to talk about cancel culture for a second, because there tends to be basically most of the people crying about cancel culture, as far as I can tell, are very powerful, entitled people who have gotten away with it for a long fucking time. Mm-hmm. And in fact, been really basically bullies in one way or another. And now that there's kind of an equalizing force called people getting to speak up and share truth in an unfiltered way, ironically, they're talking about their freedom of speech being curtailed and their rights being curtailed and their livelihoods being ruined. And, there's a lot of subtlety, a lot of things. I'm not here to make any grand pronouncements, but basically I consider people whining about cancel culture almost always to be people who have spent their life effectively canceling people. And now are kind of not even getting a taste of their own medicine. They're just finally getting a consequence. And they're just these spoiled little fucking babies that can't deal with it. And so they cry freedom of speech. So that's all to say that I've been speaking up about what I believe in for a long time now. White supremacy, misogyny, homophobia, these very empirically provable and easily observable systemic structures of oppression. And for that, I have lost untold amounts of money and untold fans. And I've been sort of like canceling for anyone who's ever tried to be an activist in this world, who's ever tried to speak up around systemic oppression, understands that no one really wants to hear it, generally speaking. It quiets a party. People don't really want to talk about it. It's kind of too heavy for most people. And shit, if you're a fucking entertainer, God forbid you have an opinion. And so I think that's the other irony about cancel culture, is that a lot of people have been being canceled for a long fucking time just for trying to like talk about shit that, again, I think would benefit all of us if we could like do away with white supremacy. What a lot of people that are super psyched on its machinations don't get is that, like, I'd be better off as a white guy. I'd be better off if fucking misogyny and white supremacy were gone. Yes, I'd have a little less privilege, a little less entitlement, a little less whatever, but I'd be in a better world in every way. And I'm not even going to go down into the weeds, but so it really, so Hell of a Year brings that up, is that it was a very strident, and I was like, in that second verse, I was like, and I had a few people tell me, that's, you know, a little too political. I don't know why you get so political there. Like, I like that song, but why do you get political? The political is the personal to me. The personal is the political. There is no difference. There never has been. Listen to me if you want. Have whatever opinion about me you want. I'm totally down. Like, it's okay. But I accept the consequences of my speech and my actions. And so if I say a thing that people don't want to hear and they shut the album off and decide that I'm a dick, like, cool. Like, I just, like, but if I'm speaking something that feels true for me and that I've really thought about, then I'll live and die by that. And I wish all these motherfuckers that are like scared about being canceled, like, say what you want to say. If you want to say what you want to say about Black people, trans people, women, gay people, like, I don't, like, good, say it. And then accept the fucking consequences. Because I've been accepting consequences for years. It's one of the reasons that I don't have more money and more success. Like, and I will live and die on that hill because I've seen countless fans turn away over the years, and that's okay with me. I swear it's okay. Like, I just want to be the human that I am, and whoever wants to hang out gets to hang out. And as in terms of being very specific about it, you know, I had anger as a weaponized virus. I had kind of some different takes on that lyric. Sorry about the ding. I had some different takes on that lyric over the years, you know, as I was writing the song. And especially as, you know, as sort of the immediate existential threat of Trump faded, and sort of, you know, life got back to normal, which is to me one of the most dangerous ways. Is like that's when we slip back into complacency. So I knew that line would set it in a time and place. And in the end, I decided, A, it's the line I wrote, and so I'm sticking with it. It's still the one that kind of gets to me. And B, I want this time to be marked. Like, it's just like when I'm in, just to, you know, do the most obvious thing. When I'm in Germany and like Germans don't want to hear about the Holocaust anymore, like, I'm like, I get you. And I'm not trying to do it to be mean to you. I'm doing it because it's a very recent car accident historically, and we get to examine the accident and what happened. And that's the way we learn. That's the way I learn. Like, when I fuck up is I go back and I go like, okay, what happened when did I lose my temper? Okay. Okay, cool. And then I try and learn. And so I want this time in history to be marked. We may well be still sliding, like our democracy might be dying. And it certainly took some hits over the past bunch of years. I mean, we're having hearings right now about people rioting and storming our fucking Capitol. I mean, we don't have anything in this country to reference historically in the recent past. And that's why I think it's important to talk about it. But again, I know that not everyone does. It's okay with me. So I did leave that in. And I will reference a sort of a problematic dude in himself, a guy called Moby, who's, you know, kind of a weirdo, and he's whoever he is. He's a human being doing his thing. But he used to write these liner notes, these incredibly strident political liner notes to his albums about veganism, about, you know, whatever was on his mind. And when I met him, he actually came to the studio when we were making Water and Solutions, and I was happy to meet him, and because he kind of inspired me in different ways. I liked the way he did his art and he did his liner notes. And I asked him, I said, so what do you, basically your question, like, how do you feel about those liner notes? Like, how do you feel about albums a few years later after you wrote them? And he's like, you know, I just try and write what's on my mind and on my heart and like what's the truth to me, because then I get to look back on it. Whether I look back and I think, wow, that was really dumbass then, or like I still believe that or whatever, I get to know the truth. And I'm the same way as a human. I want to try and tell the truth, my best, not truth with a capital T, my truth as best I can. And then I'll deal with the consequences. If later I look back and I'm like, oh, that was a jackass thing to say, then good, then there it is, you know, and I get to learn. So yeah, that Hell of a Year verse was, I thought about it a lot. It came out in a really, I remember the days I was writing that song, and it came out really quickly and really desperately and grief stricken. And And I back it. I fucking back it. You know, I mean, as it turns out, MAGA isn't going anywhere, you know, like, because MAGA, it really just is a new word for the Klan. Like, it's not, this is not something new. There's nothing happening really that's different. It's still the same divide and conquer strategies, you know, and just like the Klan were just an arm of power that tried to and succeeded in weaponizing identity. You know, that's where we're at now too. The same thing's happening. It's not, I'm a big history repeats person and learning from this. So anyway, yes, that song is very much about that. And thank you for asking about it, because it brought up all those thoughts. So thank you.
The insurrection is wild to me, because like I have a former coworker who's a Capitol Hill reporter now, and he was there when it was happening, like live tweeting, and he just like him being like scared shitless, and I'm just like following along him, and I'm like, what the, and people were like, wasn't that bad? And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it was bad.
No, I mean, as far as I can tell, our far right is literally aligned with Russia at this point.
Yeah.
And without even trying to get into geopolitical whatever, the irony is so deep that Reagan, who I think is the political figure whose rhetoric really kicked off the monstrosity between Reagan and Atwater in the 80s and their weaponization of whiteness and blackness and sort of the war on drugs and lots of things. The things that Reagan put in place are led to where we are now. And what's so deeply ironic is that Reagan was the guy who ended the Cold War. I mean, that's his kind of claim to fame, was facing down the axis of evil. And at this point, literally his same political party is now on the side of
it's wild.
We are in some strange ass times. There's just no way around it. Yeah.
Let me ask you a fun question now. Let's
please. These are all fun, by the way.
Yeah. When Far returned, what led to the decision to cover Pony?
Yeah, man, just joy. We had played often. We would make little mixes before we go on. I think a lot of bands do this. Cool, like vibey mixes that both put us in a cool mood and ready to rock, but also hopefully kind of loosened up the crowd a little bit, kind of like a little opening act within the stuff you're playing over the sound system, for anyone who's listening, basically, and just the mood of it. And Pony, is an eternal fucking jam. I mean, it's just like, bow, ow, ow. I mean, it's just, it hits and you're over. It's just done. And so I just like a bulletproof song. But so long story short, we, at some point way back in the day, as in the late 90s, someone on tour with us, the guy, Jeff Gross, this guy who's running around, friend of ours who's running around photographing us and just being a rad dude hanging out on tour. At some point, had some little joke about a band called Hot Little Pony or something. Or he used that phrase, and it just became one of those tour inside jokes. So cut to when we're trying to figure out our fake band name to do some secret shows, as we kind of like tiptoed into trying to get back together.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh man, we should totally call ourselves Hot Little Pony in honor of Jeff. And so that was our fake band name. And then we made a MySpace page for our fake band name. And then a MySpace music player, RIP, I miss you. We wanted pony themed songs. And so at first John put up I Dig a Pony, but a MIDI version, like a little like Muzak version of I Dig a Pony by the Beatles in our MySpace player. And that was our little, and so that was what we had on our page. And then we thought, but we should have a song that we performed. And I think it was me. I'll go ahead and take credit for it. Fuck it. It was like Pony. Let's do Pony. And we all got into it. And then Sean, because Sean is a fucking sonic wizard and really likes things to sound amazing, he just went in. And it wasn't, I just kind of probably wanted to do like a little, like, let's throw up a pocket recorder and like bash our way through Pony and just like play this fun song that we've always loved. But then it really turned into a thing. And then it completely blew up in ways that we just know. Because of course, then we like set about making a Far record, like a serious kind of weird, layered, interesting record. But then, meanwhile, this goofy ass cover that we did on a whim for literally our MySpace music player for our fake band name
is the biggest song on that record, or
is the biggest song that I think will continue to be, for time immemorial, the most streamed Far song that will ever happen. I mean, unless something wild happens and one of the songs gets placed in a TV show or who knows what happens. I don't see like Mother Mary coming back, like it's Pony, like Pony. So it's just a great lesson. I kind of learned this lesson with Smile as well, honestly, where sometimes for whatever reason, the energetically, who knows what, but the silly joke tune ends up being the one that really, really connects. So I've now learned as an artist, if I'm feeling kind of jokey and just putting something out there, make sure again that I can live with it, because like it may well be the only thing anyone ever knows about me.
Right.
So, and that's one of those neat perception things. Cause of course, so many, I'll just go and say it, like just fucking terrible bands have done these ironic kind of, soul, like basically like white rock artists doing kind of like soul R&B, black, like whatever tunes for comic effect. And I just think it's hilarious that I've been aware of that trend, and I was so into just being a goofball with my buddies that I'm now like for all intents and purposes, like we're Alien Ant Farm, like I just think that's fucking hilarious. Like I just think that's so like, just life is funny. So I love that song. I back it. I sung it. And frankly, going into it, because I didn't want to be like a jokester, like I understand I sounded silly singing the song. I do understand that. But I love that fucking song.
Yeah.
And I love that vocal, and I love that production. I mean, Timbaland's production is just everything. So I love that. And I sung that song. I was as committed to singing that song as anything. And again, Sean is a big part of that, because he demanded that I like do a fucking serious vocal to it. And I'm so happy I did. I've had Genuine thank me for helping to resurrect his career, literally.
Wow.
Because that song was pretty big at the time, and he was nowhere at that time. And that song kind of upticking, and like literally he allowed him to do some shows, and he invited me to a San Francisco show. It's a weird little club thing, and told me that. And so you just never know where these things are going to lead, where your ideas are going to lead. So it was just a total lark. I accept all consequences and blame, and I just love it so much.
If you're horny, let's do it. Ride it, my pony, my saddle's waiting, coming, jump on it. If you're horny, let's do it. Ride it, my pony, my saddle's waiting, coming.
Man, I swear you really led with I just feel so lucky when anyone, I mean, but I suppose especially someone who's trying to preserve things and promote things, and I feel so lucky when people hear an album in any way close to the way I heard it, and where the music gets in their lives. And it literally, if I, when I'm daydreaming on my couch thinking about like, man, I really hope this song gets into some lives, because I love it and it's really changed my life. And so I'm just so happy that you received what I was feeling as I was making this stuff. And I guess I just hope for anyone listening that start wherever you start with Pony, start with this album, start with something, a bedroom demo I made in fucking 98, start with, Far's first record, start wherever you want to start. You're going to hopefully love a lot of what I do. You might hate some of it. You might not know what to make about a bunch of it, but the animal that I am loves making this shit. And this record, more than anything else, is just me being an animal doing what I love, which is making heartfelt, sincere, layered, personal tunes that hopefully I've done a good enough job at being personal that it becomes universal. That's my entire goal as a human, as an artist. So I guess I'm just really thankful to you and happy for you. And I'm really happy to hear that whatever the fuck you've been going through, death and romance crazy and life crazy, I'm happy we're here, man. Yeah. I'm happy we're here. I'm happy we get to take another breath. I just got over fucking COVID, let's keep going. And I think that's what this record's about too. Just to circle back to, the beginning, don't give up. I thank you for everything, man.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to chat.
Well, now you can say hi anytime. Now we're really friends. So now say what's up on Facebook, say what's up on the gram. And where do you live?
DC.
Okay. Well, hopefully later this year, I will get back to the East Coast and hopefully I'll get to see you. But big love to you.
I hope so, man. Yeah, man.
Truly say hi anytime, man. And I guess I'll give a shout out to the website, not just to be whatever, but because networks are great and I'm happy to be friends with anyone on the networks. And the personal stuff for me is back at the site. So say hi anytime in any way you want to, but go to the website and it's just for you and for anyone. You'll find a lot of different weird shit and you'll find a place away from the networks and away from that's a little quieter where you can remember just what it's like to just be pen pals, So anyway, thanks for everything.
This is water, this is air. This is really everywhere. Yeah. So you get it, so you care. Oh, this is water. Oh, listen to the sun, to the earth, to the ocean, to the sky. Find a way for you and I to stay in love and stay alive with a one, with a word, with emotion, with a try. Find a way for you and I to stay in love and stay alive. This is water.
Thanks for listening to As the Story Grows. Our intro music was written and composed by Jeremy Hunt. The As the Story Grows theme is by Bob Nana. If you like what you hear, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and give us a rating and review. If you'd like to support the show financially, you can join us at patreon.com/asthestorygrows. Be a part of our community and join the ongoing conversation over on Discord. If you enjoy this episode, share it on social media with your friends. Much appreciated, and thanks for listening.
I never felt so young and alive as when I'm diving into a tune.